More than 235 years ago, our forebears signed the Declaration of Independence. It was a revolutionary document. The men that signed it were signing their death warrant. They knew that the greatest imperial power the world had ever seen was coming after them. ABC News, Time Magazine, all over the place, without even trying to tune in, there was this message that the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence was outdated and bad and evil. And there's a lot of different attacks I've seen them launching over the years, but the main one is that it's outdated, like a horse and buggy whip.
Whenever we have a problem, we tend to think our Constitution is the best ever created in the history of the world. The people who wrote the Constitution were demigods. It never needs to be changed. Our political system is the best in the world. The Senate is the marvel of the world. All these
transparency and openness.
Right. The truth is we have a pretty complicated, antiquated system that has gone pretty dysfunctional. The role of money in politics has become so large. Our tax system is a joke. I mean, we have 14,000 paid tax code, which is basically institutionalized corruption.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting debate.
And nobody can go, we aren't able to be introspective and say, let's look at how other people do this and why are they doing better at these things. That's what I mean about adapting to this world. We've really got to ask ourselves, why can't we do best practices? Businesses do it all the time. So I think that, you know, it's not just Congress, but as a society, as a country, we have to ask ourselves, are we willing to accept that there's a big world out there? Other people know a lot about what's going on. We're a successful parochial country. We're a large country with two vast oceans, two weak neighbors, with a history of success. Those are bad conditions from which to learn. We're like IBM or General Motors in 1975.
Herr Kommandant! I'm only trying to do my job.
Yeah, I'm doing mine.
Sir, she's foreman of construction.
We're not going to have arguments with these people.
It will take more than that.
I'm sure you're right.
Headshot.
To base our entire way of life on a document that was created hundreds of years ago by people whose values we didn't all completely agree with. I mean, slavery, really? We're going to base all of our values on people who wanted slavery, thought that that was reasonable. So that's what I have said.
Compared to the automobile, when it's the opposite. The ideas enshrined in the Declaration of Independence, Constitution, Bill of Rights, are the foundation of all modern liberty and freedom and jurisprudence. It's been the model of freedom. Whether you were in Asia, from Japan, right through what's Pakistan and India today, to Europe, Africa, Mesoamerica, all of these systems were tyrannical. The people were complete slaves. They had corrupt ruling classes that dominated them and kept the underclasses uneducated and poor as a mode to control them. This is the history of humans. And the Declaration of Independence and the ideas that are enshrined in it was the flower of the Enlightenment, the greatest expression of the Renaissance. Everything good in Western culture, private property, the right to defend yourself, the right to practice your own religion or not practice a religion. All of these things were enshrined in more. The right to control your own family and not have the state come take your children away to conscript them to be slaves. This was revolutionary, and it is now under assault not by something new and better, but by all the same old ideas that tyrants have brought forward. And they have all these fake intellectuals on the controlled left and right come out and tell you how the Constitution, Bill of Rights is bad, how it's antiquated, how in this age of space shuttles and computers, we don't need it, and how did the farmers who were the founders, how did, they think that they could, ever create a document that would survive into the future. Well, I'll tell you what hadn't changed is human nature. And humans act exactly the same. You read that Declaration of Independence about checkpoints and home searches without warrants and out-of-control taxes and regulations and police brutality. Read the Declaration of Independence. It's only a page long. The system does not want you to read it. It's about kangaroo courts and being, basically taken to faraway places. Everything that's happening now, the illegal wars, the secret arrest, the torture, the usurpation, the taxation without representation, the big foreign multinational corporate British empire controlled by corporate interests coming in and setting up laws to cheat little people. It's the same old globalism we were fighting as the new globalism, the modern neo-colonial mercantilism. And that's why the system is demonizing the Bill of Rights and Constitution. That's why they're coming out against it. Because America is being imploded, just like Greece, just like Ireland, and every other major industrialized country, by the Ponzi scheme banking cartel. And the Bill of Rights and the Constitution stands in the way of that. It's all over the news today that Greece is losing almost all their liberties, the birthplace of democracy, that they are losing all their sovereignty to the private cartel that came in and induced them to get into the Ponzi scheme that was impossible to pay back. We are controlled by those same interests. And so they are... We've always known they're attacking the Bill of Rights and Constitution, the Second Amendment, the First Amendment.
The UN General Assembly is considering a binding resolution urging member states to make it a crime to criticize Islam.
What they would do would be to make it illegal to put out a movie or write a book or a poem which somebody could say was defamatory of Islam.
The so-called anti-blasphemy resolution would call on governments to pass their own laws to determine what can be said about religion in public.
Tonight, let's talk with Paul Helmke, president of the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence. Mr. Helmke, what's wrong with this situation?
A lot's wrong with the situation. It shows how weak our gun laws are. Here's somebody who was too dangerous for algebra class, too dangerous for the military to accept him, but not too dangerous to be able to buy all the guns he wanted in the United States. The other thing that's really wrong here is the fact that he was able to get a gun that held a 30-round clip. Well, the one thing that's changed is they had a member of Congress shot at, and they had a congressional staff member killed, along with the federal judge and the 9-year-old. This is something we've had before. Banning restricting.
Continue to support the assault weapons ban. You know, that position, a ban on semi-automatic assault weapons, that is a position that Mr. Obama happens to share with his predecessor as president. During the 2000 presidential campaign, George W. Bush said he supported the assault weapons ban. It was a view that he continued to hold while he was president, which through his political career did in fact support a number of gun control measures, things like banning the importation of large ammunition clips, banning guns within 300 yards of a school, raising the gun ownership age from 18 to 21, requiring instant background checks at gun shows, requiring trigger locks with handgun sales. George W. Bush supported all of these gun control policies, which of course is why angry, enraged, paranoid NRA members picketed every one of George W. Bush's public appearances while he was president for all 8 years. Oh wait, that didn't happen. No, that didn't happen because George W. Bush's position on gun control was considered to be relatively mainstream and relatively non-controversial. Mr. Bush supported some, what you might call, common sense restrictions on what weapons Americans are allowed to have. And that's how the politics of the Second Amendment has worked. It's the consensus view that the Second Amendment protects the right of Americans to own firearms, but there are reasonable restrictions. Gun access are politically possible no matter how great the need, no matter how big the problem that America has to confront about gun issues, no matter how great the national trauma, no matter how rational the restriction. I know that is the common wisdom, but the fact that it's common doesn't mean it's not radical. That's a radical assertion. That common wisdom that we cannot do anything about guns, that has never been true of gun politics in modern.
But now they're out in the open telling us how great it is to get rid of it, how wonderful it is to not have warrants, how great it is to be spied on, how wonderful it is to have open borders. It's a corporate global government, a new bank of the world that we'll pay our carbon taxes to. It's total tyranny by the new aristocratic class that's basically merged with the old elites. And to just see talk radio, the internet, Newsweek, newspapers. Everywhere I go, there is the talking points of attacking the Bill of Rights and Constitution. And, of course, there's the other talking point of, well, some of the founders had slaves. The whole world had slaves at that time. It was these ideas that said that individuals innately had an organic right to not be slaves. And it was those ideas that led to the end of slavery all over the world. Now we have more modern types of debt slavery and bureaucratic slavery that we're under. In many areas of the world still have slavery, but you never hear these academics talking about that. Why do they attack the Bill of Rights and Constitution? Why do they attack the Declaration of Independence? Because it is the most modern idea. It's the system that created all this wealth and ingenuity, and that's why it's under attack. We're going from liberty into corporate collectivism. Anti-free market, anti-capitalism. It's called crony capitalism, but it's not even really capitalism. It's a crony, insider, monopoly man system that has declared war on the Bill of Rights and Constitution and your family. When you see someone on the news demonizing the Constitution, Bill of Rights, demonizing the 4th of July, it's because they're globalists. They're corporate agents who are not free market, who want to usurp and enslave you and your family, and it should make your blood boil. Obama is launching wars and telling Congress he doesn't need to even get any approval from them to do it, in total violation of the Constitution. Once you get away from rules and checks and balances on power, you have a tyranny. And finally, we see Ron Paul and even liberals like Nadler, the congressman, saying Obama is becoming an emperor, and the next president will have that power as well. And so the corporate offshore interest, through their puppet emperors, have total control over us, and our shields, our hedge of protection, is dropped. Headshot. 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 Headshot.
Not only didn't the army keep the civilian sightseers away, half the Americans were German soldiers. Disgusting. People watching executions like it was the sun. Headshot. Even taking pictures. Pictures of women and children needing to be shot in the head. That was the headshot. My rifle squad's actions in Europe. Didn't appreciate headshot pictures. Headshot. 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 What did we do when it was over? Threw the clothes in with them, loaded with God knows what money and jewelry, and then bulldozed sand over the whole mess.